Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, I thought I would cover today the differences and the importance of the front end and the back end of a business and how it comes into place in the overall marketing strategy and business strategy that you develop. So we had our 3 day workshops going on these days, and one of the tasks that is given to them is build your hooks, headlines, marketing plans, value ladders, all of that stuff, right? But quite often, what I notice is people build all of these things out without having a back end clarity on what they're going to do in the later stages, right? And I feel like that's one of the reasons why a lot of them do choose the wrong lead magnets or make the wrong marketing choices. And I just woke up, so before we head off to work today, since I don't usually get the time, I thought I'd quickly record this video. So, if you just simply look at the 5 core functions of a business, right, which is lead generation, which is you're getting the leads, lead nurture, you working the leads, sales. So finally, when you get that lead to come to a call or a sales environment, you sell them. Fulfillment. So this is where you actually fulfill the product, and retention and ascension. Um, Marketing, sales, affiliates, all of this comes in the acquisition side of things, which is um, in the front end of the business, right? So you might choose different strategies on the front end. You might pick different lead magnets, you might do events, you might do webinars, you might give away free books, whatever, to get people to come in. And then you worry about the marketing cost, the labor cost, the sales hire, sales team cost, and things like that. It's going to cost you to bring someone to the business. The thing is that has a high ROI. Sorry, that has a much quicker return on investment. It has a much quicker feedback cycle as well. So you can quite quickly learn if the ads are working or not, if the sales is working or not. And if you improve that skill a bit, you get very quick returns because you're able to quickly bring customers into the business. But this is where quite often mistakes are made because people, when they're doing all of this, they get so involved in the front end, they get so engrossed into the front end that they forget the back end, right? They start running more irresistible offers. You might make a more, compelling offer up front, so you get tons of leads. Now you might make promises that you can't even deliver on, but you just make that promise regardless because you want to bring those clients through the door. You might set the wrong expectations from the beginning. You might you know, and expectations are usually the biggest issue because that's what causes churn. So the thing is, you are able to funnel a lot of people in upfront, but then when it comes to fulfillment, that's where you mess up because your product, perhaps right now, isn't at the level where it can service the expectations that the customers that are coming in have, right? And that might have been the original reason your business wasn't working at the first place. It wasn't that you didn't have marketing, it was that your product wasn't that good. Because let's face it, if your product was great, people would talk about it, right? Like you wouldn't need to rely on marketing on sales. So customer acquisition is like something that speeds the process up instead of creating the business model itself. There are businesses who are literally based on marketing and sales where the actual product and the fulfillment isn't there. It's just getting more clients and selling more clients. But that's like a headache, which is not sustainable. You can make a lot of money doing that, but it does catch up to you. Like it's like you sacrifice long-term money for short-term money, so you don't make a lot of money in the long run, right? Because you haven't thought about the product in itself and you haven't worked on it. And it's like the more customers come in and then they end up leaving because the fulfillment is bad. So instead of solving the product, what you end up doing is then you run more ads on marketing. So you get stuck in this vicious cycle that you spend more on marketing and sales to get more clients to supplement the ones who left, and you're still growing, but your growth has a cost associated with it, and the business doesn't have and the customer journey or the customer lifetime is short because the service isn't good, so they don't stay or retain or refer others, which is why you constantly have to supplement it, right? So this is where quite often um, looking at the fulfillment and the sales is the side sorry, looking at the fulfillment and the retention and ascension, which is linked to the fulfillment, is usually like the first thing that someone needs to develop. You actually need to make sure that the product or service you're providing is amazing. It has a market demand. It is something most people would be provides tons of value, and it's priced relatively lower than what their perceived value is in their head. So they'd be like willing to pay money for it, and they tell everyone about it, and it solves like their problems, and the gap it solves is pretty big, right? It's like, again, you can absolutely, it's like something I think Hormozy talked about this, that um, Mr. Beast told him. He was like, you absolutely want to make clickbait titles, but then you want to deliver on that clickbait. So it's like you absolutely want to make those high promises, but you want a product that can deliver on those high promises. And most of you don't have products that delivers on those high promises, right? And it's like the bigger promises you make, the more easy it is to bring someone through the door. But then you forget the rest. And maybe in the beginning, I might justify it because I know business is like a pain in the ass. So, um, in the beginning, you don't have the cash flow to make the product or service good. So, your first clients might not have had the level of experience your later clients would. So, you can sell it at a beta level or sell it at a half-assed level, and then use that revenue to then reinvest in making the product and service better. But keep in mind, you do need to make the product or service better. The issue happens when people forget that entirely. They forget researching on that, they forget thinking about it, they forget trying to look at mentors or add new ways or split test their processes, their operations, their teams, customer service, tech, whatever is included in fulfillment. That they spend all time, attention, research capacity, whatever, in the marketing and the sales side of things, that by proportion this thing go keeps on getting lower and lower. And in the long run, what does is you have an unbalance where your acquisition is like level 10 and your product and delivery is like level 7 or something, or sorry, level 3 or something. So even relative to the growth you're experiencing, right? Because you just give more attention and time to the front end. Now, so that's something worth considering, where you absolutely, even if the lead magnets you've made and everything you've made, and that's what you want to focus on, and that's what's bringing in the money, you do need to be aware that if you don't fix the servicing, it's only a matter of time before customers start leaving the business, right? Now, coming to the other side of things, which is some people do the opposite. So, this is another common mistake I see. They'll rate their product and fulfillment so highly that their lead magnets are like shit, and they don't want to give any of the value, the meat away for free. So they wouldn't even like service um their lead magnets would be like something really random, really lame. And whenever I ask them to give a better lead magnet, they'll be like, oh, I can't do that because the product is too valuable, or it costs me a lot, or it's too high quality, and I can't give away a piece of it, right? But that creates the other issue, whereas if you don't provide people value up front, they won't know you have a good product because this is a cold audience in this case. So they would see the shit lead magnet you're giving them and decide that, oh, if this is how his service is, then I don't want that. So you're actually throwing customers off. You're not even like neutral, you're sending them away, you're giving them a bad experience actively. So there is a balance there. And that's like one of the things that you constantly have to focus on and involve. But again, if it was easy, everybody would have done it. However, I do see these two extremes in the front end and the back end that mostly ends up happening, that either you prioritize the back end too highly and you don't want to focus on the front end, or some people focus on the front end too highly and then don't want to focus on the back end, and both of those cause issues. So generally it's like somewhere in the middle, but again, different businesses have different strengths. So it would also be more um, tailored to your business, and this is where figuring this out makes you a lot of money, because then you do have a product and a service and an acquisition strategy and retention strategy that does work, and that allows your business to grow. But yeah, so those were just my thoughts. And now I'm gonna pack and head back to the workshop. So I'll see you guys next time.